Hello and welcome to the Retroprogressive Yoga Institute. My name is Radha Devi and I am a monastic disciple of the Ramakrishnananda Order. In this Retroprogressive Yoga Institute, we are discussing, exploring, and delving into the different writings, books, and video conferences of Prabhuji. And we are blessed with the opportunity to explore the book Kundalini Yoga, The Power is in You. This is where we begin. Today we're going to begin with our exciting series of classes that are going to be dedicated to the fifth center, which is the Vishuddha Chakra. And this one is also known as the throat center. What we are going to see in regards to this center is that it's the first one of this group of the higher chakras. I don't know if you recall when we had our previous classes, the Anahata, which has also this extraordinary function that acts as a bridge between the gross and the subtle. So in these classes we mention a few times how this is the Anahata was the bridge. It's the fourth one. First, we have the first three that we already spoke about, Muladhara, Swadhisthana, and Manipura. So they belong to the gross. And then we have the Anahata, which is the bridge. And after that, we have the Vishuddha, which are the classes that we're going to be having. Then we have the Anya chakra, and then we have the Sahasrara chakra. So this is the first one from this group of higher centers, which means that it's more subtle. And when we spoke about the Anahata, we saw how this center was very related to something that we all want to experience at least once in our lives, which is love. During those classes, we explore the definition of love and we learn about the different attributes that are associated with the heart chakra. And my recommendation is that if you're interested in that topic, to go to those classes to review them. And if you are interested in the whole path, this beautiful path of the Kundalini Yoga, then to see the whole course, and more than that, to get the book. I always emphasize the fact that what you're going to find in the book, it's very different than what you're going to find in the classes. In the classes we're deepening, we are expanding, and we are bringing from different places in order to enrich what we find in the book. But the book itself provides an immense value and is, as I mentioned many times throughout the course, so it's going to become one of your books that can be a life companion. So continuing with the Vishuddha, which is also known as the laryngeal chakra, and it's getting these names because of its location, the throat. And then what I want us to do is that as we look different images of the yantra, to continue with our custom, I want us to read what we find in the Shiva Samhita that is related to the center, and it's right away going to provide us a lot of what this center is about. This lotus, situated in the throat, is the fifth chakra. It is called Vishuddha. Its color is brilliant gold. It is adorned with 16 petals, and it is the seat of the vowel sounds. Its 16 petals are designated by the 16 vowels: A, I, U, R, L, E, I, O, Au, and Aha. This is the Shiva Samhita, the 5.90, the verse 5.90. And then we continue reading, and it says, one who always meditates on it, on the Vishuddha chakra, is truly the Lord of yogis and deserves to be called wise. By meditating on Vishuddha lotus, a yogi at once understands the four Vedas and their mysteries. and this one is the Shiva Samhita 5.91. So already we are understanding more, and as I usually try to note the fact of the importance of each center, and it's giving us very beautifully, the Shiva Samhita, some of the power of meditating on this center. The Vishuddha chakra is commonly known as the communication center, as it is its main quality. So it's going to lie in this ability to be receptive, and also for us to be able to express ourselves. And this expression goes beyond our voice, because it's going to encompasses all the instruments and all the means that we use in order to manifest ourselves. So when we're talking about creativity, for example, now that we're speaking about this expression, then we are going to see that both the Vishuddha chakra and the Swadhisthana chakra are playing a very essential role. When we saw our classes of the Swadhisthana, we saw how this center is very related to sex, to the sexual energy. But that sexual energy is capable of creating a new life. So what we see here in the Vishuddha is that same energy, that sexual energy that it's able to create a life, can also create a paint, a piece of art. It's going to be, as I said, very related to creativity and to expression. We're speaking about communication, and we have many different means in order to express ourselves. And the creativity is going to play a very essential role here too. So I just wanted to mention how this same energy that when we study the Swadhisthana can degrade us and take us down, when we sublimate this energy, it can become something else. And what I want us to do is that to read something that we find in regards to the connection and how by sublimating this energy, how many things can come out of it. And we find something in the book Tantra, Liberation in the World, that it's referring to this amazing energy. Tantra refers to the creative capacity of human beings as yoni linga. It manifests as sexual desire and is capable of creating new life. If this energy is sublimated, it can create a melody, a poem, a dance, a painting, or a song. However, if it is repressed, it can generate a battle, a war, or an argument. Of only one thing we can be sure: it is impossible to annihilate this power. I very much like this attitude of the Tantra, something that we always, in the different occasions that we come and bring it, we see this acceptance, this unconditional acceptance is something that we can see it very much in the Tantric attitude. And here is saying, it's giving us both directions: what happens if we sublimate it, and what can happen if we repress it. We always see how in this path of the Kundalini, we are looking or striving for balance. We are looking for clarity. We are in search of being able to see without the intermission of the mind, without judging. So this is also going to be something that we always want to apply. And here it's it's giving us this view in regards to the power that lies in this center, the Vishuddha, and how that energy that in the second center is sexual, in this one it's going to be more related to this expression, how by sublimating it we can create so many wonderful things. But it's also like warning us what happens when we try to repress this same energy that can create amazing things. then when we repress it, it can also bring negative consequences. So this is why we always want to strive for this power of awareness, for clarity, for observation. Continuing with the Vishuddha chakra, then we say that in any situation that it's going to require communication, this is going to have a very important role. It doesn't matter in which level, as we mentioned before. And something that I would like us to do now is to read what we find in the book in regards to this center. And it says, wherever an exchange or transmission between two or more entities occur, the fifth chakra plays a central role. Every communication requires a sender who transmits a message, a receiver who receives the message, the information conveyed, and a channel, the element that allows the message to be conveyed. If there is any interference, that is to say, if any of these components fail, communication is impossible. I brought this paragraph in order for us to see two things. One, how important is the role of this center in communication? And then in order for us to also see what are the requirements in order for a communication to actually happen. And it's telling us these 4 requirements: the receiver, the receptor, the message, and the channel. And how, if only one of those is not in the equation, if it's not present, then communication it's just impossible. So we need to put the right balance again, and the importance to all of these components in order for communication to actually happen. Something else that we see in regards to this center is that going to be intimately connected to our voice, the way we speak, the way we listen, if we really listen to others, if we digest what the people is telling us, and understand the other not only by what the other person says, but also by what the other person is not saying, what is the body language, what are the expressions, or what the other person really wants to express with what the person is saying. It's this ability to understand more and between the lines, or there are many times that someone is saying something, but this is not actually what the person means. So this center is going to provide us with this capability to actually understand what others are saying. And as I mentioned, not only through the voice or what I'm actually saying, the words that I'm specifically saying, but understanding the meaning behind it, and also trying to interpret and understanding my body language. And while I'm referring to this specific point, what I'm thinking is about this phrase, like I have in my memory something like 70% of the language is actually body language. It's not the words, it's not verbal language. And then while I was just contemplating into this topic, which I find it's amazing, like communication is something so important in our daily lives. And just to mention one of the things that we find in the book, it's saying how many of our misunderstandings is just because of the fact of not having clear communication. When one of those elements that we mentioned earlier is missing, then the communication is not able to happen. And also something that we're going to see going forward in this class, when we have these preconceived ideas, when we are not in the present and we are just projecting something from our memory, then it's difficult to actually meet the person and to understand what the person is saying. And then there are many misunderstandings. This is why we many times have different arguments. So continuing with what we just with what I was just sharing in regards to the 70% of verbal or non-verbal communication, there is this very famous researcher. His name is Albert Mehrabian, and what he did is that he broke down the impact of a message in different percentages, and he said that 7% is verbal, 38% is vocal, which means the tone, nuances, and other characteristics related to the voice. And then 55% it's more signals and gestures. So the verbal component is used to communicate information, and then the non-verbal component is going to communicate personal states and also different attitudes. And for me, it was very amazing all the process of researching and understanding in regards to the communication, because also the titles, what they were highlighting is 93% of the communication is nonverbal, referring right to that 38% and 55%, the 38 related to the voice and the 55 related to the signals and the different gestures. Only 7% it's actually verbal. It's actually the words that we're saying. This specific study, the author warns, and it's telling us, please don't take it out of context. It was made specifically when someone is speaking about their emotions, and he was speaking specifically, as we mentioned, right, the words itself, the tone, and the different gestures. So I many times remember, or not many times, but it happens in different occasions, how someone is telling you yes, but with their head they are saying no. Or when someone is telling you that is wonderful, like the tone of voice sounds aggressive. I am okay, nothing happens to me, I am wonderful. But you can tell by the tone of voice that something is happening. Especially if you know the person for some time, you already know the different states of the person and what the other person is actually trying to say. So as we can see, there is this wonderful world of communication, and there's so many different things that requires in order to happen. And we are going to continue reading something that we find in the book, because further on, Prabhuji shares with us, and I want us to read. He's telling us, it is impossible to hear clearly if there is a lot of noise around us. Similarly, in order to perceive clearly what is said to us, inner silence is essential. Our mental noise, which is the product of a mind agitated by desires, does not allow us to listen to the message attentively. Meditation is not a technique or method, but purely receptivity. We are taking this paragraph, and this is basically the main topic of our class, which is receptivity. It's one of the points that I want us to focus and to develop in this class. And then in the next one, we're going to continue deepening into other things that we find in this specific paragraph. So I want us to go back, read it again, like taking few parts of this paragraph. What are we emphasizing during the class? So it says, it is impossible to hear clearly if there is a lot of noise around us. So it's telling us that inner silence is essential. So it's speaking about silence. And then it says, then it's speaking about our mental noise. And it's telling us how this is not allowing us to listen to the different messages clearly, attentively. And then it's speaking about meditation, as we many times mentioned, it's not a product of a technique, it's not a method, but in this case is speaking about pure receptivity. We share throughout this course many different definitions of meditation, and in the context of the Vishuddha chakra, it's defining it as pure receptivity, and we are going to discuss and understand more why. One of the other things that I didn't read but I would like to mention is the fact of, when we were just speaking about these different elements, different requirements for communication to happen, one of the things that Prabhuji is sharing with us too here is the fact that usually when we are speaking, we are, instead of calling it a conversation, it can be called a monologue, because we have one person that it's very focused in what they need to say and express, than in listening and having this interchange with the other person. And this is after it's this paragraph that I just read, that how it is impossible to hear clearly if there is noise, how we need silence, and how it's our desires and our preconceived ideas that are not allowing us this mental silence that we actually need. And after what we just mentioned in regards to meditation, which is pure receptivity. So while I'm speaking and saying this to you, I am remembering one specific article that we already share and discuss together, which is the one that it's related to freedom. And we spoke about it in our series of classes of the Manipura chakra. I recommend that if you didn't see those classes, go there and see all the context. But the article says, the question was if responsibility is an obstacle for freedom. And Prabhuji take us to this tour, and he's explaining us in regards to all the concepts that we need to understand in order to know for sure if responsibility is an obstacle for freedom. And he tells us we need to know what is freedom, what is responsibility, what is control, and what is discipline. And this is why we brought it in our classes of the Manipura chakra, because the Manipura chakra is very related to power, to control. And then we discuss the differences between those two terms, control and discipline, because what we are going to find is the fact that many times we use these terms to refer to control. Sometimes we use discipline, and to refer to discipline, sometimes we can use control. So we clarify the definition of these two terms, what both of them actually means. So going back to this class, we saw also in regards to response, in regards to answering, we find this part in the article. We're speaking about shravana. Shravana means listening. It's a Sanskrit word that means listening. And before speaking about it, what I want us to do is to actually read from the book. Whoever didn't see it, this is the book, Experimenting with the Truth, and this article about freedom, it's found here. The Sanskrit term shravana means to listen. Listening with precision requires silence, as it is impossible to talk and simultaneously perceive what someone is saying. As silence intensifies, attention sharpens. The inner stillness that the shravana requires is not absence of noise, but of preconceived ideas, concepts, conclusions, and mental fluctuations. Surely, the first step on the retroprogressive path is cultivating receptivity. Here we see this intimate connection between receptivity and listening. How listening is going to be this, I dare to say, key in our retroprogressive path, as they're saying here, is the first step on the retroprogressive path, is cultivating receptivity. And then he continues speaking, and he's saying, cultivate listening when you have a doubt related to your health. Listen to your body, but please don't take this as a health advice. We always say, and we explain how we're not giving any health advice. If you have any problems, you need to go to your doctor, to your health professional. Here we're speaking more about this inner strength and inner power that we have, and it's referring also to the power of listening. So continuing, it's saying, when you're not sure what direction you should take in life, listen carefully to existence deep within your heart. And those who cultivate the art of receptive and alert listening find silence and peace. So we're seeing this very, as I mentioned, connection between listening, receptivity, silence. For example, silence, we're going to continue deepening into it in our next class. And something very important that in both books we heard, we cannot have noise, but the noise that we're speaking about is not an external noise. For example, I am here with you, sharing all these words, and if I remain quiet, there's going to be silence. Let's see. There is no noise, there was no cars, it was complete silence, but it's telling us how this is not the silence that we are speaking about. We are speaking about a silence of the mind. Even though you didn't hear anything, there were many thoughts in my mind while I was doing this test. So this is something that I want us to focus on in regards to this mental silence, no preconceived ideas, and how in order for us to be receptive, this needs to be removed. So when we search for the term receptivity in different dictionaries, the definition that repeats itself the most was the capacity to receive. So what happens when my hands are full? It's something that I need to catch or carry. I need to let go of something in order for me to be able to receive. And this reminds me to this very famous story. And Prabhuji, throughout the years, he's been sharing it in different occasions. And you can find it with different names, maybe the story of the cup of tea, or the empty teacup, or the full teacup. You can find it by different names, and it's specifically from the Buddhism, the Zen Buddhism. And Prabhuji told us that there was this very erudite student. Like, he used to go to many different teachers, many different professionals in order for him to acquire different knowledge. And as I said, he can be even considered erudite in his field. And he asked one of his teachers, like, can you please recommend me the next teacher, the next person that I should go to study with? And he said, oh, I can recommend you this very famous master. He's very, very good. Like, you need to visit him. You need to make sure that you go to him. And he followed its instruction, and he went to this very famous master. And when he go, the master welcomed him, received him. They both sit on a table, and in the table you have the teacups and also the kettle. And they both sit and they start speaking, and the master tells him, like, welcome, if you can please introduce yourself. And the student starts to introduce himself, and he's sharing all the things that he acquired throughout the years, all this knowledge of these different teachers that he visits. And while he's introducing himself, which is taking time because he's sharing all the different accomplishments, the master starts to pour tea on the guest teacup, and he starts pouring it, and it starts to overflow, and the person doesn't say anything but starts to get worried, and he continues to pour, the master continues to pour more tea, and then it starts to reach the table. And at this point the student said, "Master, but stop, you don't see, it's already full." And at this point the master stopped pouring the tea, and he says, "This is your problem. This is what's happening to you. I cannot pour anything on you because you are already full. You are full of different preconceived ideas, different costumes, different habits, and there is nothing for me to give you because you are already full. I cannot accept you as my disciple." And this very interesting story, it's going to bring, I will say, many lessons. First of all, he's telling this person, this student, "I cannot accept you as a disciple because I cannot give you anything. There is no space." So it's giving us, it's providing us another key in this path of disciplehood, which is, I will say, emptiness. I would say this receptivity that we're speaking about, space. So we're speaking about the space that we need to have in order for us to get in contact with a master. The master, I remember in this article of this master and disciple relationship, also in Experimenting with the Truth, he's saying that the disciple needs to be fertile soil so the master can put a seed and it can actually grow. So now that we're speaking about receptivity, when we are full-handed, if we want to see it in the exterior world, we cannot take anything else. Everything begins to fall. But when we let go of different things, we can speak here about our different attachments, then we create the space that it's needed in order for our master to put its seed and for something to grow in us. Because something else also that we see in that article and in many different lectures of Prabhuji is the fact that when we're speaking about the master-disciple relationship, we see, and there is, we're going to see that is a relationship of destruction. When we speak about the path of the Kundalini yoga, we always speak about removing different things in order for us to reveal something that we already have. We say, there is this famous phrase of Prabhuji, "What lies in you as you are, it's here and now. What you yearn for lies in you here and now." We already have it. We only need to unveil it. So we put many concepts, ideas, what my father told me about me, what my mother told me about me, my teachers. We grow, accumulating different information, and we cover what we really are. So it's not that I need to achieve something or get something else. No, I need to get rid of many things that are covering my authenticity, what I really am. This is what Prabhuji is telling us. And that's going to be the difference when we're speaking about the relationship between a student and the teacher, where they are accumulating something. They want more knowledge, more things, more concepts, And in the other side, we have getting rid of something, letting go of something, surrendering ourselves. These terms that we many times use in order for us to be able to receive, in order for us to keep cultivating this quality of the receptivity that is so important in our path. And there is a seminar of classes of Prabhuji where the name is relationships and self-image. It's 4 classes, and in the first one he's speaking about satsang, right? This Sanskrit word that means meeting with the truth. We have sat, which means truth, and sangha means together, so it's a meeting with the truth, together with the truth. And he's speaking about how we have this conception that in order for satsang to happen, you only need an enlightened master. And he's telling us, yeah, the enlightened master, it's one of the requirements for a satsang to happen, but you also need this accessibility of the disciple. You need a disciple in order for the satsang to actually happen. You need both things. And listen how I'm using specifically the word disciple, because he's also saying how many times many of us can meet other sides of the master. He's speaking specifically in that class, in that satsang, about the pedagogic side of the master, because the master has many aspects. So it depends on our accessibility which one we are going to find. If we put aside all these preconceived ideas and we can actually allow this meeting to happen. So I want us to listen to these words, and then we are almost finishing with this class.
Many think that a satsang requires only the presence of an enlightened spiritual master. That's enough. You want satsang? Bring a guru. If the guru is enlightened, will be satsang. I remember in my young days, friends go to different masters. I was with Sai Baba, and I was with Papaji. I was with this master. I was visit Swami Muktananda. Satsang here, satsang there. And we ask, but what do you think? He's enlightened? You felt something? Because we have this idea. If the master is enlightened, will be a good satsang and we will feel something. If the master is not enlightened, no feeling, nothing. That means the master. Everything on the master, because the ego is like that. The ego always put the responsibility in the other. So many think that satsang requires only one thing, that is an enlightened guru, and that's it. Overlooking the importance of the disciple's receptivity. What is this disciple openness? Many go attend different discourses of masters, enlightened beings, without noticing that as long as they keep their fears and preconceived ideas, they will not experience satsang. Because they are hermetically closed, even if they meet gurus. They cannot access to their presence. If they are not receptive when approaching a saint, they will meet only the teacher, but not the guru. Means they will meet the pedagogic aspect of the guru. Every guru have a pedagogic aspect, a teacher. The words of the guru, the explanations of the master, the form of the master, the religion of the master, all the things are part of the aspect of the guru that is the teacher. But it's not the presence of the guru. You understand this part?
As we listen and to just take a few parts of it, the importance of the receptivity and how when you're not open, when you don't let go of those preconceived ideas, fears, different attachments, then you don't actually meet the master, you don't actually meet the saint. There is no space for that meeting to actually happen, and you meet other aspects of it, the teacher, or from that's only one from many other aspects that the master has. So it's telling us here one more time this importance of the receptivity of the disciple, and as I said, this very intimate connection with listening and what we spoke about, these preconceived ideas. We are going to delve more into these preconceived ideas and how what we have out in our mind can be an obstacle for us to cultivate this receptivity in our next class. And I just want us to finish with reading something else that we also find in regards to shravana in the book Advaita Vedanta, Being the Self. It is impossible to realize the self only through books, courses, or teachers. They may prepare us for the encounter with our eternal guru, but wisdom only flourishes in close association with spiritual masters. Authentic disciples need to be situated in shravana, with a calm and free mind of preconceived ideas and concepts. They become pure silence and receptivity. I felt it fit to bring this paragraph. Receptivity is something that we're going to find in all the books. We're going to find also in regards to preconceived ideas. But what I saw specifically here, this is in a chapter where it is explained and discussed what are the different disciplines for indagation, inquiry, self-discovery. And then they put shravana as the first one. So what I wanted to show is how important it is, how it's basic, how it's part of the foundation, and bring again the importance of it and how basically nothing can happen with it. It's telling us, yeah, you can find many different things in books and different teachers, but the actual association with the saint, it's what is going to allow us to flourish for something from our internal, from within, to actually happen. We spoke in some of the different texts that we read together, that we share, how we're speaking about something that is flourishing, that it's coming from within, not something that is imposed. And it's the same with this silence and with this receptivity, and they are very important ingredients for this path of the Kundalini yoga that we are trying to explore together in order for us to realize what we really are. So as I mentioned, in our next class, we're going to continue deepening into these different concepts. And I want to, as usual, thank you very much for joining us today. Jai Prabhuji.